Welcome to another episode of Open Plus Tech, and in this episode, I'm going to be doing a demo of an open source vulnerable web application. It's called Broken Crystals, and it was deliberately developed with certain vulnerabilities inside for security testing. Learning how to use application security testing tools, and just for learning about web security in general. So we're going to be installing that. We're also going to be running ZAP, which is an application, an open source application that's used to scan web applications for vulnerabilities. It can use to run attacks. Um, and yeah, this is going to be exciting. Just a few prerequisites. I'm going to mention this as I get there. You will need to have Git. You also need to have Docker and a few other things. So I'm going to be sharing links to those resources that you're going to need when we get to it. So yeah, stay tuned and get ready to follow with what I'm doing, and so that you can also get that practical experience. Let's go. Right, let's start with Broken Crystals. So you just go to brokencrystals.com. You'll see what the application looks like. I wouldn't advise doing tests on the live application just because it's someone else's someone else's system, someone else's server that you're going to be hitting, and we don't want to cause any disruptions. But yeah, this is what the application looks like. It's like a marketplace kind of application. It has an API where you can get different products. It has authentication, so you can log in. Um, uh, and yeah, it has different types of, it has like an admin dashboard that you can log into if you have the access. So, for us to test this one, let's go to the GitHub repository. And if we just go to github.com slash, oh, actually, if we just search Broken Crystals, you will find many different versions, but this is the original one, Neural Legion Broken Crystals, just to make sure that you're using the right one. And if we come over here and see the instructions, so like I said, it has a front end and back end, and it has instructions on how to build and run the application. Very simple instructions. But to be able to run this, you would need to install Node on your computer and npm, which is the Node package manager. Don't worry if all this sounds very complicated. I'll drop links to the npm, Node, and everything. What I recommend using is something called NVM, which is a Node version manager that will help you basically use any version of Node very easily. If you guys think it's going to be helpful, we can do a video specifically explaining Node, npm, and all those kind of things, because might be using it a lot for a lot of these projects. But that's outside the scope of this video, so I'm just going to drop links to some helpful resources that can help you set up npm and Node. It also requires you to have Docker. So Docker is the container runtime environments that you can set up. Lots of applications, lots of modern applications run on Docker or some kind of containerized environment. So if you're working in cybersecurity, and in particularly you're going to be securing applications, then it's going to be very helpful to know about Docker, know how to use Docker. Again, we can do a different video on that if that's going to be helpful. But I'll drop resources to every one of these prerequisite tools. So I don't want this video to become too bloated. But it's fairly straightforward to set up these tools. So going forward, I'm going to assume you already have npm and Docker installed. So what we have to do now is to clone this repository. Oh, another prerequisite is Git. And again, Git is something you definitely should have installed if you're going to be working with open source tools, if you're going to be working with web applications and things like that. But yeah, let's assume you have all this stuff installed already. So I'm going to go into my terminal now, and yeah, So I'm going to be going. I'll just go into the directory that I want to install this. Uh, open plus, and then git clone. Just clone the repository and get all the code downloaded onto my local machine. And something else I'm going to be using is VS Code, Visual Studio Code. I'm using a version of Visual Studio Code called VS Codium. It's 100% open source version and doesn't have Microsoft's analytics and tracking tools, but most people just use VS Code regardless. It's basically the same thing. So to open this broken crystals in my VS Code, I'm just going to type code broken crystals, or you could just open up VS Code and use it to open a particular folder. Broken crystals. It basically does the same thing. So now that we have this here, you can go through the code and see how everything works. But we can just open the terminal in VS Code, or just use the terminal here to go into that folder. Crystals, and then we can start running these commands. I'm just going to copy and paste. Really important, something very important, make sure that whatever code repository or whatever open source project you're running locally, make sure that you actually trust the source. You actually validated that it's a legitimate source and not some kind of clone or malicious project. Because again, if you're running commands locally on your device, running an application locally, if there's some kind of backdoor in there, that could end up being very terrible. So, it's already detected. Node has already detected some vulnerabilities in some of the packages, but we know it's a vulnerable application. It's meant to be vulnerable, so I'm just going to ignore that. So to build the client, just going to run this command. So what this is doing is, going into the code and creating a build of the front-end application. And here, this is the actual Docker command, Docker compose, that's going to run everything in this. Okay, let's open the code. Everything in this Docker compose local. This is basically different images for different parts of the application. So this Postgres image is the database. This is the port that it's going to be running on. This is the actual Node.js application, which is going to be running on port 3000. And there's mail catcher, and then there's some login settings for each of these images or containers that are going to be running. So this command that we're running here is just, spinning up those containers. And we have an error. Now it's not looking good. This is just a warning, so this is not what stopped it from working. Permission denied, of course. So you can set up Docker to be able to run without sudo privileges, but apparently I haven't done that. So I'm going to have to add sudo to this command. So yeah, just one thing to take note of. Okay, it's not giving me an error yet. Oh, interesting. what is the problem here? I'm going to add this build keyword to it so that the images are rebuilt. I think it might be because I already had it running. I had a version of this running on my device. Or maybe that's why it's getting a bit confused. So let's make sure it's rebuilding the um, containers from scratch. Okay, that is looking better now. Okay, cool. Hmm. There's still an error here. Uh, so what I'm going to do is prune my Docker system just to make sure I'm starting from scratch, because I already had some stuff running. I had this same application, a different version of it running, so maybe that's why it's getting a bit confused here. Uh, let's see what this error is. Container config. Anyway, it's just I don't think I have anything that would be negatively affected by this. Okay, yeah, so there's still some version of broken crystals running, and I'm guessing that's why it's not working. So let's just stop this container. Oh, just not JS, that's the container name. And then we do the Docker system prune. So now we're starting from scratch, clean slate. So I don't need to run this npm commands anymore because the Docker system doesn't affect it at all. So I'm just going to do this. Sudo okay, we're good to go. Now let's go to localhost or 127.0.0.1. I'll just use localhost 3000, and yes, we have our broken crystals application running and good to go. So just test that all the features are working. We have okay, this requires authentication. Actually, let's log in. So one of the user accounts is user password user. And yeah, we can look at all the products. We can create a testimonial. We can upload feedback. Why would they have a feedback upload button that allows you to upload files? Who knows? Anyway, so we have different categories here. We can edit our user data. So first name, Stop offering. We can use the chat functionality. So this chat functionality requires us to set some configuration for the local language, large language model API. So we can hook it up with OpenAI's API or something running locally, whatever the case may be, and it would allow us to chat with this chatbot. So this is not going to work right now because there's no API key or anything that's been set up. Marketplace, we already looked at that. There's an API schema as well. So this is the API, all the API endpoints and everything. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a profile picture that you can upload. And yeah, we have broken crystals running locally. Sometimes it gets stuck loading here, so all you have to do is like reload the page and it works. And let's try and find some kind of cross-site scripting vulnerability. So I'm not going to use any tool. For whatever reason, it's like forcing me to sign in again. So let's look at any of these and see if there's any vulnerabilities we can just try and exploit. Right, so when you open a particular product, it has this query or added to the URL. And let's see if we can potentially embed some JavaScript code and get some cross-site scripting running on this website. Let's do something very simple and very obvious. So let's try adding this here. Just a very obvious script and see if it's going to work. I haven't tried this before, by the way, so if it doesn't work, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So we'll just do a basic alert document dot. Okay. Okay, it's stuck. Now it's asking me to log in again. Okay, let's try something here in the what's it called? Testimonials. I'm logged in. It should allow me to create a testimonial. I'll try and sign in again. Yeah, so it's not opened up the testimonial. Okay, yeah, so this is testimonial. Right, so we've just executed a cross-site scripting, a stored cross-site scripting vulnerability. So what's happened is I added a testimonial, and this testimonial is being stored in the database. And whenever this page loads, it loads each of the testimonials. And because I injected JavaScript code to this testimonial, whenever this page is loaded, any customer that visits this page is going to have that JavaScript code executed. So yeah, that's an example of a vulnerability that exists. And so let's look at ZAP. So what is ZAP? Zaproxy.org. So this is an open source web application scanner, and it's one of the most widely used, if not the most widely used. And it's free, open source, and it's a GitHub top 1,000 project with lots and lots of contributors. And it looks like their website's been improving, because the last time I visited this website, you know, it didn't look as nice as this. I mean, it was nice, but it seems that they are improving a lot, because recently they got into a partnership with Checkmarx, which is a commercial application security testing provider, and it seems they've been getting some funding from this, and that has given them the ability to like focus a lot more efforts, put a lot more resources into the project. So yeah, that's good to see. And so if we look at the stats guide, it has basics about security testing, the pen testing process, and then ZAP. So ZAP is basically a proxy between your browser and the web application that would basically log all the requests that you're making, allow you to intercept those requests or modify those requests. It will give you a tree of the application. So I'm going to demo it very soon, just to show you what everything looks like. And it has a very simple, download process. It has an installer for Windows, Linux, Mac OS. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to be installing it now again, unless there's an update. But yeah, it's as straightforward as just downloading it and following the process to install it. So once you have it installed, you can just open it as ZAP. Anytime now. Okay, it's loading up. Not persistent session, and yeah, so this is the user interface. In terms of accessibility, I haven't done an accessibility test on this platform, but I'm going to do one very soon, and potentially I would even make that a video, just doing an accessibility test on this app platform. Any limitations, anything to watch out for. But yeah, let's do a manual explore of this application. So it actually has like an inbuilt browser that you can use. You can use Firefox or Chrome. I always prefer Firefox. So let's go to localhost 3000 and launch the browser. I don't know if it's okay. Yeah, there we are. And yeah, okay, I clicked on it twice. The cross-site scripting vulnerability that we exploited is still active. Like the exploit is still there. So imagine, any user that opens the application gets this execution. So if we go back to ZAP, it already shows you all these different things. everything that it's been able to detect. So there's some third-party stuff that we're not interested in, but anything within this scope we are interested in. So it's already mapped out some of the things in the API, assets, different stuff that we have going on here. It's a bit more visible. Cool. So if we visit the different pages of the application, so log in here. It keeps discovering new paths and new API. So at this stage of the testing process, what I usually do is just explore the application, proxy it, see all the different requests, all the different capabilities of the application, and have them all here so that if I want to come and modify a request or start an attack, I can just come here and go back to the the site tree to start those processes. And yeah, so it has you can run a passive scan, you can also run an active scan, like automated scan. You see, we've not even done a scan and it's detected some things. Unsafe eval. Wait, actually that's on anyway, that's outside the scope. I'm sure there's a way to set up the scope so that you don't scan anything that's outside what you're supposed to be scanning. But here I haven't started any scan. This is just exploration. Vulnerable JS libraries, so it detects all these things are passive rules that it detects based on just exploring the application. So if you want to do an active scan, we go back to quick starts and go back and select the automated scan option. So yeah, we can run the attack here, but before doing an attack, it's advisable to set up a context. So this context just says this is what's in scope. And here I'm just going to add localhost 3000 and anything that comes after that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to do if I want to do like just an attack or like an automated scan without fine-tuning anything. So yeah, anything is detect. It shows you, this is in scope, this is out of scope, so it's not going to do any attacks on any of those. And yeah, the scan is still in progress. And yeah, that's pretty much how it works. It has lots of other things like automation framework, which is a whole different thing. That would be like, I mean, ZAP team has lots and lots of videos just on the automation framework and all the other aspects of ZAP. But there's so much that can be done with this tool. It just takes, lots of learning about it, understanding how it works, and working with it. ZAP also has a Docker option. So yeah, I'm just going to minimize this for now. So you can do, if I just search ZAP Docker API scan, what's the command? Right, so it has Right, so this is how we do the scan. So if we wanted to do a scan on the API, we would use this Swagger JSON file. And so let's do it. ZAP Docker. Pretty sure there is a command for a Docker API scan. I'm just too lazy to construct the command myself because I always copy it from the documentation and just modify it for my particular purposes. Okay, so let's use this one then. So what this does is it mounts the current directory so that you can use files from the directory, or you can write to the directory, especially when you're like generating a report. So yeah, we're just going to do that. Then where is the API scan? So this is just selecting the Python script within ZAP to run the API scan. So T, that's our target. So I'm just going to paste it. Oh, my bad. That's not what I'm supposed to paste. So for the target, it's supposed to be this file. It's in OpenAPI format. So that's what we put on the target option, and then on the format, we select OpenAPI. And that is pretty much it. Oh, for the results, so let's say we want to do a HTML report, so just do -r report HTML. So I don't have it locally, so it just downloads the container, and then it downloads the image, creates the container, and then runs the scan. So it's still just pulling the resources. Should start the scan soon enough. So let's have a look at the scan that we've done already. So I think the scan is still in progress, but let's say if it's generated any alerts. Yeah, it's still in progress. All this is just from the passive roles that had already been detected. Um, okay, so we have some problems here. illegal parameter failed to access the target bad request to API endpoints. JSON open API action import URL. Interesting. Connection refused. Did it actually complete the scan though? Uh, there's no report HTML here, so no, it's not completed the scan. Localhost 3000 Swagger JSON. I'm pretty sure that was the Swagger JSON. Yeah. Not sure what's the problem here. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. You know what? Just gonna Google it. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, I think this is the exact error that we're facing as well. Changing network equals host. Right. So this this makes sense. So let's try adding that network host. This makes sense because this allows it to access the host network. The host being my main operating system's local host. It might be interpreting localhost as its own IP address within the Docker virtual network. Nice. Seems like it's working. It's already imported URLs. Right. So it's already it's done the scan and it shows errors. Some warnings, and then it shows just a summary of the scan. But if we actually go to the reports HTML, right, I forgot to give it an actual HTML format. And if we just preview it, There should be a way to just open it in browser. Okay, you're taking your time. Right. So this is what the report looks like. It has, basic um stuff. It shows you the number of alerts on for high, medium, low, informational, and then it shows you the different risks and the risk level and the number of instances. So there's open redirect, PII disclosure, remote file inclusion, lots of stuff. And this can help you speed up your testing process to, detect things that can be detected automatically. And then you can spend more time on, some of the manual stuff. Or you can try to exploit any of these vulnerabilities, see if you can get privilege escalation and lots of other stuff. But yeah, it's a quite powerful tool. Because of time, I think I'm going to stop it here. I wanted to do 3 of these vulnerable web applications, but I think one is good enough for a particular video. Let's not make things way too long. But then again, this is all experimental, right? Experimental with different video formats, and if there's something specific, something particular you want to see, or that you want us to do, just put in the comments. And if there's anything that you think worked well or did not work well with this video, all your feedback is going to be much appreciated. But for now, I'm going to leave you to it. You know, keep at it, keep hacking, keep doing cool stuff with open source technology, and make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Comment, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. And yeah, we will meet in the next episode. Have a good one.